Let's do something fun this week. Let's do like an art project. I want you to go get something to draw with and something to draw on. Maybe even grab some crayons and then go ahead because you're going to need some color. Then pause this video and go get what you need. So you either follow directions really well or you're a rebel. But either way, you can still play along. I'm going to describe a painting to you. And I want you to draw or imagine what exactly I'm going to describe. And I want to see how close you get to the original painting I'm trying to tell you about. Okay, I want you to start out with some squiggly lines and make them look like an oval. Now make a couple of those. Now pretend to write something in cursive on the top part of your page. Now try to draw a face without lifting your writing tool. Now color everything with a couple of different colors. Now this might take you a little bit, but once you're finished, did it look anything like this? More than likely, what you drew or even imagined in your head doesn't even come close to what the actual drawing is. Now, there are plenty of reasons for this. One is I didn't give specific details about parts of the drawing or even use correct terms when trying to get you to understand what the original picture looked like. But did you know if we're not careful, we can do this with our theology as well? Our ideas of God and beliefs in Him can be shaped more, not by the detailed original accounts that can be found in the Bible, but by rather brief statements given by people who might or might not mean well, but lack the detail to give us an accurate picture of who God is and His love for us. We call these short, powerful statements pithy statements, and we are inundated with them every day. For example, many of you are watching this video on social media. And social media is full of pithy statements. They can be in the form of a post, a meme, or a video. Some of these are wonderful biblical thoughts and truths, but others are just religious hogwash and are no truer than the moon being made out of cheese. But how can we tell what is truth and what is not? One way of doing this is trying to understand what the statement is really saying and compare it to the truth of the Bible. Let's take this one for example. God will not give you more than you can handle. Now, this sounds like something we might hear in the Bible, and that's the problem. When the enemy wants us to distort our view of who God really is, it won't be with a statement that are outright wrong, but just a little wrong. And our jobs as Christians is not only to discern right from wrong, but right from almost right. You see, in 1 Corinthians 10:13, Paul tells us something that could be considered similar to this statement. He says that God will not allow us to be tempted beyond what we can bear. But this is only dealing with temptation and not with the trials in our lives. And as we look at other scripture, we see the idea of God not giving us more than we can handle is just flat out false. When people use this statement, they usually mean that we are very strong, powerful people and we can handle anything, and God knows how much that is. So we just need to toughen it up and deal with it. But that's not biblical at all. As a matter of fact, Paul said in 2 Corinthians 1:8-9, we think you ought to know, dear brothers and sisters, about the trouble we went through in the province of Asia. We were crushed and overwhelmed beyond our ability to endure, and we thought that we would never live through it. In fact, we expected to die, but as a result, we stopped relying on ourselves and we learned to rely on God, the only one who raises the dead. Do you see what he's saying there? They were suffering beyond their ability to endure, but just so that they would learn to stop relying on themselves and start relying on God. As appealing as that original statement was, it's false. Maybe we should change that to God will never give you more than He can handle. But do you see what damage could be done to your view of God if you believe the first one? When we listen to these false, pithy statements to know who God is, we no longer worship the God in whose image we are made, but we start to worship some false God who we've made in our image. But not only can it be just a blatantly untruthful statement or a slightly untrue statement, but it can be a biblical verse taken out of context. Take, for example, the ever-popular Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, when we see this, it's usually in the context of when I try hard enough with God being with me, I can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a Grammy-winning musical artist, a best-selling author, or even get elected as the President of the United States. But that's not the context of what Paul's talking about here. We cannot take Scripture and apply our own meaning to it. Instead, we have to look at the original intent of the author. In context, Paul is really talking about what we discussed with that first statement. He is saying that we can suffer hardships only with the help of Christ. You know, I've probably seen around 100 of these false statements floating around social media just in the last week. So don't think that these are the only ones that are out there, or that everything you see is false. But be like the Bereans and search scriptures to see if these things are true. Don't get caught up worshiping and seeking a God that you've created in your mind, but rather be grounded in truth, seeking the God of the Bible, and be transformed by him.